Most people think loyal dogs are easy to recognize. They picture a dog that follows its owner everywhere, obeys instantly, protects the family, and stays emotionally attached no matter what happens. For years, I believed that too. If a dog stayed physically close to someone constantly, I assumed the bond must automatically be deep, healthy, and emotionally strong. But the more dogs I watched carefully, the more I realized something uncomfortable. Some dogs looked loyal on the surface while quietly living in a constant state of anxiety, tension, or emotional uncertainty underneath. And honestly, that realization completely changed the way I understand loyalty in dogs now. Because real loyalty is often much quieter, deeper, and emotionally more complex than most people think. One thing that started changing my perspective was watching how differently dogs behaved around certain humans. Around one person, the dog might appear obedient but emotionally tense. Around another, the exact same dog suddenly looked relaxed, expressive, playful, and emotionally safe. At first, I thought this difference was mostly personality-based. But eventually I realized many dogs were not changing personalities at all, they were changing nervous system states. That distinction matters enormously. A dog can stay close to someone physically while still feeling emotionally unsettled internally. Many people mistake dependency for loyalty. Dogs that constantly shadow owners, panic during separation, or obsessively monitor human movement are often described as extremely loyal. But sometimes those dogs are not emotionally secure at all. Sometimes they are anxious dogs trying to stay close to the one thing that helps them feel regulated. That realization surprised me more than almost anything else. Because from the outside, anxiety and loyalty can sometimes look almost identical. One thing I completely misunderstood early on was assuming loyal dogs automatically trust humans deeply. In reality, true emotional trust is something dogs build gradually through repeated experiences over time. Dogs constantly evaluate emotional predictability. They pay attention to routines, tension, body language, emotional reactions, tone shifts, frustration, calmness, and how humans behave during stressful moments. This is why emotionally steady people often build incredibly strong bonds with dogs without even trying very hard. Calmness creates emotional clarity for dogs. Meanwhile, emotionally chaotic environments slowly create uncertainty. Loud conflict, frustration, inconsistent reactions, nervous energy, or unpredictable routines can make even deeply bonded dogs become more emotionally guarded over time. One thing many owners overlook is how emotionally observant dogs really are. Dogs often notice emotional changes inside homes long before humans realize anything feels different. Some dogs respond to emotional instability loudly through barking, reactivity, or clinginess. Others respond much more quietly by emotionally withdrawing. This is where the hidden truth about loyal dogs starts becoming clearer. Truly loyal dogs are not always the loudest, clingiest, or most visibly attached dogs. Sometimes the deepest loyalty appears through trust calm enough for the dog to fully relax emotionally around someone. And honestly, that kind of trust is incredibly powerful. One moment completely changed how I view loyalty forever. I once watched an older rescue dog quietly lying beside a man during an entire stressful veterinary visit. The dog was clearly nervous about the environment, but every few seconds it calmly looked back toward the man, relaxed slightly, and settled again. There was no dramatic excitement, no frantic behavior, and no desperate attachment. Just trust. Quiet, steady trust. That moment stayed with me because it looked very different from the dramatic loyalty people usually imagine. The dog was not emotionally dependent on the man, the dog simply felt safe enough around him to stay emotionally regulated during stress. And honestly, I think that may be one of the deepest forms of loyalty dogs can show. Trust strong enough for the nervous system to stay calm during uncertainty. Another thing I eventually realized is that loyal dogs are often deeply emotionally connected to human behavior itself. Dogs constantly study how people react during difficult moments. They notice frustration during walks. They notice emotional tension inside homes. They notice nervousness around strangers and emotional reactions during conflict. Dogs are incredibly aware of emotional atmosphere. And over time, that atmosphere shapes trust more than many owners realize. One thing many people misunderstand is that loyalty does not mean a dog never experiences fear, uncertainty, or stress. Emotionally secure loyal dogs still react emotionally to difficult situations. The difference is recovery. Dogs that deeply trust humans usually recover emotionally much faster because they feel safe enough internally to settle again. That is why emotional regulation matters so much in relationships with dogs. Calm nervous systems learn and adapt more effectively than constantly overloaded nervous systems. Another hidden truth about loyal dogs is that they usually thrive around emotional predictability. Dogs generally feel safest when routines, communication, and human behavior feel understandable and emotionally stable. This is why emotionally inconsistent leadership often creates emotionally inconsistent dogs. Dogs mirror emotional atmosphere constantly. One thing that surprised me repeatedly was how strongly sensitive dogs reacted to human calmness specifically. Some dogs visibly softened around emotionally grounded people within minutes. Their breathing slowed. Eye contact improved. Movement relaxed. Nervous scanning decreased. That difference is not random. Dogs are constantly searching for emotional safety inside relationships. Another huge misconception is the idea that loyalty means total obedience. Some incredibly loyal dogs are still imperfect dogs. They may struggle with fear, overstimulation, anxiety, or excitement. They may make mistakes. They may not behave flawlessly in every situation. But emotionally, they still deeply trust their humans. And honestly, emotional trust matters far more than robotic perfection. One thing many owners accidentally damage without realizing it is emotional openness. Constant correction, frustration, unpredictable reactions, or emotional pressure can slowly make dogs more internally guarded. The dog may still obey outwardly while emotionally disconnecting underneath. Owners often mistake this quiet emotional withdrawal for maturity or calmness. But many dogs are simply learning that emotional openness no longer feels completely safe. And once that happens, loyalty starts looking very different emotionally. Another thing I eventually realized is that loyal dogs are often incredibly forgiving. Dogs repeatedly give humans emotional opportunities to rebuild trust and connection. But forgiveness does not mean emotional experiences leave no impact. Dogs still remember emotional atmosphere deeply. This is why relationship quality matters so much. Dogs generally bond hardest with humans who consistently create emotional safety, fairness, patience, and predictability over time. One major shift in my thinking happened when I stopped viewing loyalty as something humans simply receive automatically from dogs. Instead, I started seeing loyalty as something emotionally built together through repeated interaction. That perspective changes everything. Suddenly loyalty becomes less about control and more about trust. Another hidden truth about loyal dogs is that many of them quietly carry emotional pressure without showing it dramatically. Especially highly observant or sensitive dogs. Some dogs internalize tension instead of expressing it loudly. These dogs may appear calm externally while staying emotionally hyper-alert internally. Owners often miss these signs completely because the dog still behaves obediently. But emotional loyalty feels very different from emotional shutdown. This is why emotionally secure dogs often look softer overall. Their movement becomes more relaxed, engagement becomes more natural, and nervous system tension decreases visibly. One thing dogs constantly teach humans is that emotional energy matters enormously. Dogs often understand calmness, predictability, frustration, and tension far more clearly than humans expect. And honestly, many loyal dogs are not blindly devoted at all. Many are deeply emotionally connected to the humans who consistently make life feel safest and most understandable. That does not mean dogs calculate relationships like humans do. But they absolutely respond to emotional experience. Another huge lesson for me was understanding why some dogs seem to become intensely bonded to one specific person. Often, that person simply regulates the dog's emotional world most effectively. The dog feels calmer around them. Safer around them. More emotionally understood around them. And over time, that emotional safety becomes trust. Then trust slowly becomes loyalty. The more I understood this, the more I realized I had been completely wrong about loyal dogs for years. Loyalty is not always dramatic attachment, obedience, or dependency. Very often, real loyalty is emotional trust quiet enough for a dog to fully relax its nervous system beside someone without fear. And honestly, I think that may be one of the most beautiful things dogs give humans at all.